Greetings, my guzzlers. It's getting to that time of year, Christmas. So what a better time to have an Asian dish. Let's go to Singapore. Okay, I've been to Singapore twice now. Bit expensive. Fuck off expensive. But anyway, that's an aside. Been to Singapore twice now. And although I didn't actually sample this dish, my best mate did. But none of us knew at the time that this is considered the national dish. Sorry, I was going to say disc then. National dish of Singapore. I'm doing my bloody Amway moving again. So we're sort of going to make Hainanese, I think that's how you say it, chicken rice. You said we're going to do a quick and simple version, so it's sort of slightly different. But anyway, as they might call it in Singapore or other areas, as you'll find out, chicken rice. So the first thing we want to do, I'm going to wave my hand then, is make a stock. So what I've got here is 340 grams of chicken stock. Now it's not homemade chicken stock, because that's best I've got. Okay, so I'll leave that over there. And then these are quite thin spring onions. You've got nice chunky ones, 2 will do. And what we're going to do with these, we're just going to take the bottoms off, and we want to, not all the way through, we're just going to slice them sort of in half. We're going to keep the tops on like they are, so these things don't disintegrate. Don't really matter, because it's all going to sort of come apart in the end. But then we're just going to fold that over and chuck that in that broth. There's not an awful lot of broth in there. And then you want about a thumb sort of size piece of fresh ginger, and I'm just going to peel that. It probably wouldn't actually really matter actually at this stage if you left the peel on it, because this is all going to get filtered or sieved, if you like. But what we will do is we're just going to roughly chop this up, and that's going into that pot. Now if you were making, right, so that's all in there, okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on a low heat, because we want to try and extract some of them flavours. There's not an awful lot of liquid in there, so I'm just making sure the onions and that are in there. Now, like I say, if you were doing this properly, you actually poach a whole chicken, but obviously that takes time, and this is meant to be a quick and easy version. So we're starting with the stock, but we're going to enhance it, because this chicken rice dish, Hainanese chicken rice, is basically poached chicken with a seasoned rice, generally served around about room temperature-ish, with a chili sauce and cucumber. Now, we're not having the cucumber, we are doing chili sauce with it, and it is considered the national dish of Singapore. I have to say, the recipe I'm following is from the school of wok, and he says use skinless, boneless chicken thighs. But if you watch his video, he's actually got bone-in, skin-on thighs. He does remove the bones and they go in the stock, but he leaves the skin on. And if in Singapore, when you see this, to be honest, I don't find it looks very appetizing, because literally you are poaching the fish then, the chicken with the skin on, and so it does sort of look very pale and not very appetizing. but we'll come to that in a minute. We're not doing it that way. We've got skinless, boneless chicken thighs, which are actually in the fridge. I'm looking over there. But we're going to trim them up, and any fat that's on it, we're going to chuck in there. This dish is a traditional Chinese dish. Now, like I say, if you were going to use with skin on, leave the skin on, but take the bones out if it's got bones in it. Now, you can see there's a bit of fat left on this one. So what we're going to do is just going to remove that fat, because there's a lot of flavour in that, and we're just going to sling that in. There's a bit of chicken on that, but never mind. That can go in there as well. And then when you've done that, basically each thigh, cut it into about 3. Ooh, there's a bit of fat on there, I can take that off of there, and sling it into a bowl. Now, like I say, if you were doing this, oh, I thought it was a bone in there, but it's not. If you were doing this for the whole chicken, obviously you're going to have to chop it up. Let me just chop this down a bit, and then that last bit, I've got some fat on there. Now, like I say, this was a Chinese thing, Hainanese, the Hainanese sort of people of China, if you like. And when they sort of emigrated over, some of that fat stuck on me back of my spoon, getting that broth. They brought this sort of dish with them, but traditionally they would use a particular breed of chicken, the Wenchang chicken, and they wouldn't just use any old Wenchang chicken. Well, that's a big thigh. They're massive. Look, there's got to be more than one there. Bloody hell, more like a bleeding breast. It was the chicken that essentially, what I might do is cut that one like that. Let's get rid of that membraney bit, and like I say, don't throw them bits away. Should have used me little paring, I don't know, knife, because that's a bit sharper than this one. This one I don't want to cut this bit off. It was a chicken that they would be keeping for the eggs, but essentially the chicken had gone past that, so it was an old hen, and that's what they would use in the pot. Basically, they slaughtered it, chucked it in the pot with the view that they were going to make from it. I'll just chuck all that in there, to be honest. Don't look very nice, don't look very appetising. Oh, look at that. Oh no, that's a bit of chicken. Yeah, it would be chucked in the pot and simmered away to produce the broth. Oh, there's definitely a bit of fat on that. There we go. And like I say, don't worry about all of this here. It's starting to simmer. We just basically want to extract all them flavours. So I'm just going to finish off that chicken, and then we're going to make a marinade. Right, I'm just boiling some water just in case that evaporated down. That was on the big ring. It was, even though it was on the low setting, it was boiling a bit. Now I'll put it on here. I probably won't want to add any more water. I'll put it on a smaller ring, and it's just simmering. So our marinade, I don't know if I said, you probably want about 400 grams for 2 people, about 400 grams of chicken. There's a little bit more than that in there because it's just the way the packs at Tesco's do them. But what you're going to want is another sort of thumb-sized bit of ginger, 3/4, depends how big your cloves of garlic are, cloves of garlic. You want some 2 hang on. I'm wondering now, because like I say, the video and his instructions are slightly different. So according to this, for the marinade, you want 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. You want 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of Chinese rice wine, a teaspoon of granulated sugar, and like I say, the ginger and whatever. But I'm just now wondering what he's doing for the oil that we're going to use later. But anyway, we'll worry about that in a minute. So this stage, like I say, you want a teaspoon of sugar in there. You want 2 tablespoons of your rice wine. Now we're going to massage all this together, okay, in a minute. So this is a simplified version that you can essentially make in about 30 minutes. 1, 2. Don't need that anymore. Can go in the wash. And then, like I say, we want 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. 1, 2. I'm just going to keep that there because I'm not sure whether we might want that, but we don't need that anyway. So now all I'm going to do is we want to essentially grate, or you can use your what are you using that for? Your garlic crusher for your garlic. Can't find my garlic crusher now. Where's all this? And the ginger we're going to grate, and that's all going to go in there, and that's boiling away nicely. So this Wenchang chicken, or Wenchang chicken rice, which was essentially, after you poached your chicken, you use the broth that you got from that to flavour your rice. You might not necessarily have it with the chicken, so you could just be having Wenchang chicken rice, which is basically chicken flavoured rice. But anyway, I'm going to get my garlic peeled, crushed in there, that peeled, grated in there. Like I say, this chicken dish, when these Hainanese immigrants, or people, immigrated and moved across Asia and Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, they basically took the recipe with them, and they used it, particularly in Singapore, up until the 1940s. This dish was a dish for special occasions. Now, I've now just massaged all that chicken in there. Now, you could do this a night before. You could leave it in the fridge overnight, but you don't need to. Obviously, the longer you leave that in there, the more fragrant it's going to become, if you like. But for now, we're finished with that. So I'm just going to put that to one side, and what you're going to need next is an onion. Now, this is quite a smallish brown onion, so I'm going to use the whole lot. If it's a large one, just half. Now, I said to you, if you have this dish in Singapore, it's very pale, very white. The skin just does not look appealing at all. But it's like, well, the Chinese, Singaporeans, they love it. But essentially, having poached it, and you keep the temperature just below boiling, so it's obviously quite a little while to poach it, so it never really develops any colour. And then when it's ready, you take it out and you plunge it into ice water. And this tends to make the skin have this sort of jelly-like look, which is I think is the unappealing look. Okay, we're not going to get that. Oh, then you'd hang it up and let it dry out, but even so, it's still got that sort of jelly-like consistency, if you like, or look. But we're not doing that, obviously, and we haven't got any skin on it, so it won't look like that. I'm just going to peel that onion. So I've left the root on there. That helps hold all the layers together. I think I've told you that before. So I'm just going to get the skin off, and then what we want to do is dice this quite finely, if it'll let me get the skin off. Like I say, if this was a big onion, you probably only want half. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that through almost to the root, and then we're just going to slice it through like that, so that we can then just dice that up. Now, I was telling you about obviously where this originated from. However, there is a little bit of a dispute. Going back to 1965, Malaysia started arguing that this was a Malaysian dish. And they tried to sort of claim credit for it. But essentially, and actually, while I've got my thing there, you need another piece of ginger. That's a bit of a knobbly one. Again, about a thumb size bit, but we're just going to peel that bit. And we're going to be wanting to put that in later into the chili sauce, but while I'm chopping things I might as well do that. And well, they argue nationalism is the word apparently for it, about nations arguing who invented some food or recipe. Now, another name for this rice is oily rice. This dish is oily rice. And they would argue in Singapore, actually, the important bit of this dish isn't the chicken, it's the chicken rice. It's the rice flavoured with the oils and flavours and everything else of the chicken. They might also in Singapore use pandan leaves. We aren't. This recipe doesn't call for it, and we're not using it. So let me just get rid of all the peelings. And now you're going to need like a wok or a heavy base saucepan with a lid. Now my wok, as it were, don't come with a lid. So I've got a lid that more or less fits on top. Okay, you're going to need that. You're going to need some oil. Like I say, I suddenly realised you'd sort of left that bit out. And we're going to, and your rice, you want about 280 grams of jasmine rice, uncooked, and you want to rinse it about 3 or 4 times. I've done that, drained it off, and we're going to sort of fry that, and then we're flavouring it. I'm going to add about a tablespoon and a bit of oil into me wok, and we're just going to get this on a medium-ish heat, get that nice and hot, and then we're going to be putting our onion in there, and we're just going to sort of fry that until it's sort of goldenish. Okay, we don't want to burn it. Now, like I said to you, you can find variations of this dish all the way across Southeast Asia. But These Hainanese immigrants were quite happy, you know, working, doing what they were doing, cooking this meal for special occasions. And then in World War II, Japan occupied Singapore, booted the British out, and a lot of these Hainanese immigrants worked for the British as servants. So essentially, it was the serving class Hainanese people who made this dish. And when the British got booted out and the Japanese took over, these lot all found themselves with no income because they were working for the British. So someone, or some of them, had a bright idea of, why don't we open a chicken rice restaurant? And that's what they did. They basically opened up a restaurant. Let me turn, that'll do. To satisfy, well, whoever, but he's equally bringing an income. Now, once this gets up to heat, like I say, we're going to chuck that onion in there, and we're just going to let that, don't want that bit in there, that's a bit of peel. We're just going to let that cook until it's golden. So the onion have gone in there, but also what I'm going to do at this stage, although to be honest there's not really anything in there, I was just going to say I was going to add in any of that marinade that is sort of loose, if you like, but it ain't happening. So we'll leave it. So we're cooking the rice. Now for your chili sauce, which is going to sort of garnish it, if you like, you want a couple of cloves of garlic, a teaspoon of sugar, 5, although if you don't want it too hot you can cut back, bird's eye chilies. We haven't got any bird's eye chilies, they didn't have any in Tesco's again, so we've just got one red chili there. You're going to want the juice of a lime, the sugar I told you about, didn't I? Oh, garlic, and some ginger. So all that's all ready to go, but we're making more of a paste rather than a sauce, but we'll worry about that once we start cooking this chicken. So really that's it to do with Hainanese chicken. Like I say, when it was served, when my mate had it, it was on a platter. The chicken has obviously been poached, sliced, so it's got the white jelly-like skin on it, and then it's served with accompaniments, the cucumber, which sometimes was boiled in that broth as a first stage. You would have a chili sauce on the side, and obviously some chicken rice, i.e. rice that's been cooked with the flavour of the chicken. But anyway, we're just going to let that cook a little bit longer. It's starting to go a bit golden, and when that's ready, that's when you're going to want your rice. Okay, I think that is pretty much drained. Like I say, I've washed it about three or four times, get all the excess starch out. We don't want sticky rice, and then that will be going in there in a minute. So it's starting to get a little bit of colour to it. So at this point I'm going to take my sieved rice, and that's going in there, and we're now just going to toss this through this oil for about a minute or so. Okay, this is uncooked rice, remember. Whoops, flying out everywhere. Don't want to be in here, want to be together. So I'm just gonna, like I say, we're gonna fry that, and you're gonna want your sieve, because you're gonna be pouring the broth in there, because obviously we need to cook the rice. You can't just cook it like that. And equally we want to absorb all them flavours that are in there, the chicken, the onion, the ginger. I can't remember what else is in there. But what is going on with bloody rice? We're not making bleeding popcorn. We're not making pop rice, you little kids. So, I think that's just about there. So, like I say, at this point, we take this broth and we chuck all that in there, and all of that in there we'll discard, and just going to mix that through. And now what we want to do is bring that to a boil. So it's come to a boil. I did turn the heat down, but remember this is my little ring at the front, and it took it off the boil. We want it now on a gentle simmer, and this is where we want to take our chicken. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put our chicken on top. Okay, we're not mixing it all in. So there is a lot of chicken here. Like I say, there's more chicken than we actually, well, the recipe called for, but it don't matter. And we're just going to lay that chicken on top. Let me just put that there a minute. And we're now going to put a lid on it, and we're just going to cook that. What I might do is I just might move that. Ooh, don't do it like that, you burn the handle. What I'm going to do is I want to move that over there, slightly bigger ring, and we're going to cook that for about 15 to 20 minutes, and that will give us time to make. So I want to put that onto, actually I'll put it onto 20, and that'll give us time to make our chili paste. Now, a couple of other little oddities to do with this chicken rice. 2004, a Singaporean comedy set in a successful chicken rice restaurant in Singapore Chinatown called Rice Rhapsody. Alternative name for it, Hainanese chicken rice. And then in 2000, or we'll say then, before then, in 2000, there was another romantic comedy based on the story of Romeo and Juliet, which was basically two rival chicken hawker or chicken rice hawker families, i.e. salesmen or, you know, salespeople. And although they were rivals, just like Romeo and Juliet, the two different families, the rivals with each other, the two children fall in love with each other. And that was known as Chicken Rice War. So let's make this sort of chili paste. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our ginger, and I'm just going to roughly chop that up. It's all going in there, and we're going to be crushing it all together. Same with the chili, with the garlic, in that goes. We've got the sugar, in that goes. We're also going to have a generous pinch of salt, okay, and then we're going to take our lime, and we want juice of that lime in there, and then we'll add the chilli. Actually, I could probably get me. I think I might do that, to be honest. Quite tough, that lime. Oh, just had a sneezy hit. I don't know why. Probably allergic to somebody or something. Anyway, in goes that. So, like I say, if you were using bird's eye chilli, you want to, well, it depends how hot you like it, but we're not. So I'm going to chop that fairly finely. If you want to remove the seeds, that's up to you. Then that's all going in there. And then what we're going to do, now I've got my glasses on, so I'm protected. But what you might want to do is make sure when you start pounding this together, you're protecting your eyes, because the last thing you want to do is get some of that chilli in there. So now all we're going to do is pound that together. Now traditionally the Hainanese chicken, this would be served as like an accompaniment. We are going to effectively put it on top. You could, if you want, if you're feeling a little bit like, oh, I want to be a little bit more gentle on my guests, you could put it as a side and then they can add it as and when they want. Bit tough, the wife's getting it on top. Ooh. I think everything's all right, but I left the room earlier, so I left my mic on the side, thinking I don't want to go out of range and then I have to reset it all. And that last bit, I forgot to put my mic back on, but I think it picked everything up nice and clear. This is a little DJI mini mic, and I have to say, I've been using it for a few episodes now, a few videos. Some of them, the early ones, I noticed sounds a little bit quiet, a little bit muffled. Well, not muffled, but quiet. So I've turned up the sort of gain, if you like, and I think it's working fine. And I think as a result, even though it was sort of sat down there, still picked everything up. Probably picks up that boiling away like anything. Oh, that's not quite over that. I haven't looked in there yet. So although the idea of this is to poach it in water, this is probably a bit of a combination between poached and steamed. So sort of same thing. So I'm just continuing just to pound this together. Like I say, this, well, you can see it there. It's quite liquid with lumps in. Okay, but we'll just continue with that until that's cooked. There's got about another couple of minutes to go, and then I'll check on it. And if the chicken is pink inside, then it carries on cooking. If it's not pink inside, don't matter. Also, you might want to get the rice that's sitting on the bottom of the pan a little bit crispy, a little bit browned. That's fine. But obviously the key thing is make sure the chicken's cooked. Right, that's just over 20 minutes, getting on for 25. Turn the heat off, take the lid off. Woo! So now, here's my knife there. Let's get that put away before I cut myself. So, we're just going to move the chicken to one side. And like I say, we're hoping that some of that rice at the bottom, and it isn't, well actually having said that, there's a bit there. Okay, some of that rice has started to catch, get a bit of colour to it. And then on top of that, we're going to put our chicken. And that is, apart from the accompanying sauce, is our, let me get that out of the way. Whoop! Knocking that over. So I'm just going to take some of that, oops, chicken paste, which sort of went a bit wafty. So there you go. There is your simple, so it's not the proper, because that takes hours, Hainanese chicken rice. So we better get toasting. So here it is. Let's start by just trying some of that rice. To be honest, it says use jasmine rice, but it's overwhelmingly chicken. And then with that chili sauce on it, obviously, I think, to be honest, you could probably just use any old rice, because it's definitely chicken flavoured rice. And obviously got a hit of chili. If you'd left the chili out, it'd be chicken rice. Oh, that chicken is ace. When you get the burnt rice, I get the crunch of that. Almost nutty. It's not burnt, but nutty. You got the chicken. Overwhelmingly, it's chicken, which is what it's meant to be. It's chicken with chicken flavoured rice. Obviously, the chili comes through, but even so, even with that amount of chili, or not even that amount of chili, well, I don't know how you want to say it, it is chicken rice. There you go, ideal Christmas dish. Merry Christmas.